All right, guys, I've been anticipating this one. As soon as I heard about it and I saw that bottle, it was a gorgeous bottle, by the way. Well, more the color of the bottle, I think. It's a gorgeous colored green bottle. And I've been waiting for this one. And it hasn't really been a great year for men's fragrances, unfortunately. There were a few standouts here and there, nothing like over the top amazing. And we started out with a pretty dismal release earlier this year, Dior Homme Parfum 2025, the relaunch of Dior Homme Parfum. So since then, a lot of the men's fragrances have been duds. Not really exciting. As I said, there were a few standouts here and there, but not like over the top amazing. And this is the new men's fragrance from Prada. It comes a few years after Paradoxe, which I'm assuming this fragrance is somewhat connected. It's in that same family of releases. And this comes probably around 10 years after L'Homme series was launched. So I guess the brands do new fragrances every so often, or new launches, and we've got Paradigme now. So it's a 2025 launch, and they're using Tom Holland as the spokesperson for this. There's been a lot of press out there for it, and I'm curious to get my nose on it. I haven't got my nose on it. I haven't been hearing what people are talking about or saying. So I'm just going in brand spanking new. But if you've gotten your nose on Paradigme already, what are your thoughts? So they're using 3 Firmenich perfumers. It's Bruno Jovanovic, Marie Salamagne, Nicolas Bonneville. And then this is a 100 ml bottle. It's eau de parfum concentration. It's for men, obviously, and it's $165. So it's quite pricey for a men's designer release. Men's fragrances, men's fragrance prices, or actually I should say all fragrance prices, have really gotten jacked up. So fragrances are quite expensive. If you're in the market to buy a fragrance, a new one, look for the best deals that you can find. Look for a discount or something if they are out there. But yeah, let's go ahead and smell it. I'm gonna smell the fragrance for you guys, let you know what I think about it. I'm not holding my breath though. This is under L'Oreal, obviously. Prada was under Puig at one time, Puig, and they dropped, I think Puig dropped, or I don't know what the deal was, who left who, but it was Valentino and Prada. They left around the same time, and they went with L'Oreal from Puig. So, and since then, I've really hated Valentino's releases. None of them have been that great. Not a big fan of Valentino fragrances since being under L'Oreal. And with Prada, they haven't really launched a new men's fragrance. Ocean Parfum was really nice. I like that, but not a new series is what I'm trying to say. So let's see what this one's all about. So I'm going to open up the box, show you the bottle. Really want to hold this bottle, see what it's all about. It's a nice green bottle. Big Prada right there. Eau de Parfum, and you've got the information under there, obviously. It's interesting. My camera is focusing today. The other day I was shooting a video and my camera was not focusing. So this fragrance features notes of Calabrian bergamot, airy musks for top notes. Heart notes features green bourbon geranium with floral rosy facets for heart notes. Finally, in the base notes, we've got Peru balsam, benzoin, and guaiac wood, creating an amber woods base. And according to the Prada website, this is considered an amber woody fragrance. They wrote down ambery woody notes for the style. So it's a popular style for designers lately. Again, if you've gotten your nose on this one, do let me know what your thoughts are. I'm going in and I'm going to let you know what my thoughts are. But before I smell this, let's see if I'm going to smell it away from the strip. I did read somewhere that the fragrance has been reversed. So what you're going to get first is the base notes is going to be overpowering. So it's going to take over, is what I read. And I'm starting to smell something. First impressions, first smells, not a good, pleasant smell. So initially, I got a lot of that amber woody smell that a brand is actually claiming it is. And it reminded me of a few other fragrances that I'm familiar with, most importantly, Wanted. But that kind of disappeared pretty fast. So we got that right away. Now I'm starting to experience the fragrance in stages with the top and the heart and the base. But right off the bat, I got a reminder of Wanted, which Wanted is not one of my favorite fragrances. And I believe Wanted is a very amber woods focused fragrance. I don't want to give up on this right away because I wasn't really happy with that initial blast. I think it's starting to be pleasant. Peru balsam, I really love this note. Benzoin, I really love this note. I could care less about guaiac wood. The geranium, I think it's a nice masculine note that's used a lot in fougere type aromatic spicy fragrances. There is something pleasant about it, but not right off the bat. Is it something truly amazing? I wouldn't say so. All right, I'm going to put it on skin. And let's see how it develops. 5 sprays. I do have to say, the bottle is much more gorgeous than the actual fragrance itself. So that initial blast, I did not get, but it is quite amber woody. So it's a warm, spicy experience for sure. There is a freshness about it. So even though we've got that balsamic note of Peru balm or Peru balsam, and we've got the benzoin, which is a resin, which is kind of sweet and vanillic, it's got a freshness about it. It's not necessarily uber warm and sticky resinous. Not bad. I thought I was going to hate this one. As soon as I smelled it, that first initial blast was a bit too much like Wanted. And even though I prefer my resins and balsams to be a bit more resinous and balsamic, there's a lot of freshness. And what's giving us the freshness is the bergamot that's up top and also the bourbon geranium note. Are we breaking any new ground here? No. We're not. Is it a pleasant scent? It is. I think it is. Is it a wow? It's not. The thing I don't understand is why, when brands launch these big releases, big, huge releases, why do they always have to have not 1, but 2 or 3 perfumers attached to a fragrance? Can't a perfumer just do 1 fragrance for a brand? I mean, I've seen so many fragrances. Like, I think Invictus is multiple perfumers. From what I remember, Angel Nova by Mugler is like 3 perfumers. It's a Quantum Biche, and I think Louise Turner and another, maybe even Sonia Constant was on there. So why does it always have to be when there's these big mass launches from the brands, there's not 1 perfumer attached, but 3? I always feel like when a fragrance is created by more than 1 perfumer, it loses something, you know? Okay, we are getting to the section what I don't care for. That initial blast. So what I read about this fragrance is you're going to pick up the base notes right away, which is what usually happens to me. They're claiming that they're doing, like, reinventing the perfume wheel. That, you're going to have so much of the amber woods, you're going to smell that first. But usually that's what happens with fragrances, because when you have a fragrance that's focused on patchouli, and that's like the prominent note, when you first spray it, you're going to smell it because it's dominating the entire fragrance. I've seen that happen multiple times in fragrances, and it's happening here. So here now, this is the phase I'm not caring for. At this point, it becomes very generic, not smelling 100% naturalistic, because for me, as I said, Peru balsam, benzoin are some of my favorite smells in perfumes. This just smells uber generic. There was a point there I thought this was pretty pleasant, but it's past that to become more cheap smelling than pleasant. All right, some of you that are going to be into this fragrance are going to complain that I'm being a snob now. So I like all kinds of fragrances as long as it smells good to me. If you hate something, does that mean you're a snob because you don't like it? I can't like every fragrance, and this fragrance right now is smelling pretty generic. It had a start that I didn't care for. Then it developed into something pleasant. I said it was pleasant. I said it wasn't a wow. It's not breaking any new ground, but it was smelling pleasant. But now, unfortunately, it's smelling cheap, and it's smelling like a lot of other men's fragrances. So this is a L'Oreal-owned brand. So L'Oreal is responsible for all of the fragrances. I don't want to blame the perfumers, even though I complain that why do they get a fragrance with these big campaign launches, doing like, not 1 perfumer, but like 3 perfumers working on it. I don't understand that. I guess it's something that I will never understand unless I go and interview, you know, people at the perfume houses that are creating these things. So I also don't want to blame the perfumers for this fragrance, because the perfumers are there to just provide the fragrance to whoever's responsible for the, launch of this thing. So most likely we've got people from Prada and people from L'Oreal working on this. And from reading the book, The Ghost Perfumer, a lot of these brands passed on a lot of fragrances, these famous brands. I'm talking about like some of the earlier brands like YSL and those kind of brands. Passed on a lot of fragrances that Pierre Bourdon was working on, and those past fragrances, the ones that were passed on, were taken by Creed and launched. So because of this, I kind of wouldn't blame the perfumers for creating something generic like this. It's quite generic. It smells pretty cheap. So I wouldn't blame them because they're not approving the launch of this thing. There's so many people involved. Not only do we have 3 perfumers involved, there's probably like 50 people involved with the launch of this thing. How much marketing research did they do? Who are they talking to about this? They're interviewing and doing focus groups and getting people to smell fragrances and so on and so on. So it's not Prada launching it, and it's not Bruno Jovanovic, Marie Salamagne, and Nicolas Bonneville saying, yeah, this is the one you need to go with. We will not do any more. Release this fragrance. I don't think it was that. So their names are just attached to it, and L'Oreal is telling them, and Prada is telling them, tweak it a little like this because the focus group we just had liked it this way more. And that's what happens with these fragrance launches. So I used to blame a lot of the perfumers for the launch. Yeah, their name is attached to it. I wouldn't want I don't know. I think what happens a lot of times, and I'm kind of like veering off from the actual fragrance because we're talking about the launches. I don't know if it's like film, because I kind of come back from the entertainment and music industry. If it's like film, when you launch something that becomes successful, you get, residuals from it. Is it like that with perfumes? If this thing sells a lot, are these perfumers going to get, commission or bonuses from it? I don't know if that's what happens with the industry of perfumery, but with these big brands and, conglomerate owned brands, most likely that's what happens. And that's why their names are attached to it, because I know Bruno Jovanovic, Marie Salamagne have done so many awesome fragrances for niche houses. I'm not too familiar with Nicolas Bonneville, but Bruno Jovanovic has done fragrances for niche houses. Marie Salamagne does all the fragrances for Atelier des Ors and other brands. So they know how to do great fragrances. So this is actually approved by L'Oreal and Prada Corporate. So they most likely did focus groups and things like that. Anyway, let's get back to the fragrance. So it's acting a bit like a warm fougere, like an amber fougere. That bourbon geranium note in the heart is giving me this kind of a vibe a little bit. I'm not saying this is 100% amber fougere. It's more like an amber woody fragrance. But the fact that it has a lot of the bourbon geranium, it's giving me that kind of an effect a little bit. It's at a stage right now that it's a little bit more pleasant, but not as good as when I was saying it's not a wow, but I like it. So it's gone through this kind of a screechy, kind of very generic phase. Now it's kind of all blended together, where I'm picking up a lot of the geranium, but it's blended with a lot of the warm, ambery, resinous, and balsamic parts of the fragrance. We've passed the top notes. It's kind of in the stage of heart and base. And the fact that the base is what's really running the show, and they claim that you smell the base first and all that kind of stuff. It's in the stage of the heart. And I'm picking up a lot of the geranium, which to me is an herbal note, is an aromatic note. So it's giving me that kind of like an amber fougere vibe. So yeah, it has some masculine touches. And I think a lot of times when I recommend fragrances that are featuring Peru balsam or benzoin, they usually lean unisex. They're like unisex offerings. But the fact that they've thrown in the geranium in this, and I consider geranium to be more of a masculine note. That's just the way I classify fragrances. Some of the herbs are more masculine, flowers more feminine. And even though they mentioned there's the rose in this, well, it's the rosy facets of the geranium. And if you're curious to learn more about something like this, go check out a fragrance by Frédéric Malle called Rose and Cuir. And it's rose taken from the geranium. So basically they brought out the rosy facets in geranium, which also has minty facets. So they can do that. And this is not that rosy. And even though when you smell rose and cuir, which is rose and leather from geranium, the rose from the geranium, you'll notice rose that's kind of green and minty, not your typical like beautiful, gorgeous rose. And this is what I'm getting here. Lightly on the rose, more on the aromatic side of the geranium, and lots of the resins. And of course woods too, because we had the guaiac wood in the base. So it's a combination of all these notes. Unfortunately, it's a letdown. Another letdown from the designer's world. That's the deal with these fragrances. And I've come to the conclusion that too many thoughts going into a fragrance screws up a fragrance. Like, first of all, you're using 3 perfumers, not just one. And then you've got so many different executives smelling and deciding, and the focus groups, people that are not necessarily into fragrance or know about fragrance that are deciding on what we should smell like. But then again, they are appealing to the masses, and the focus groups are done with people from the masses. When I was very young, when I first moved here to San Francisco in the 90s and the 2000s, I was doing focus groups. There was a lot of focus groups done. And so I kind of understand how those work. They take the opinion of a group of people that are sitting in a round table and discussing certain new launches of things like that. So that's most likely what happened with this. So you've got everyday mass world deciding on what people should be wearing, I guess. But I'm disappointed, unfortunately. But I wasn't holding my breath for this. It's L'Oreal. To me, this also, L'Oreal and Prada and YSL are under L'Oreal. Same with Armani and also Valentino. Their fragrances are starting to smell similar. Like, why don't they kind of make them different? Like, you could put this in a YSL bottle and say it's a YSL fragrance. You can put this in a Valentino bottle and say it's a Valentino fragrance. You can put this in an Armani bottle and say it's a Armani fragrance. Why don't they make them a little different so there's something to distinguish between them? Because they all started smelling similar. Like, I don't understand why they're doing this. I guess the mass market doesn't really wear a lot of fragrance, and when they're going from one to the other, they're deciding with on an impulse, and they're saying, "Oh my God, that smells so good," because they're deciding on top notes, and at the top, this might smell a little better than that one, or vice versa, and that's what they're doing. But going back to the idea that this smells a lot like fragrances I've smelled from YSL, Armani, and Valentino, it's really disappointing. I wish there was a way that the fragrances were standing out a little bit. And I actually really appreciated Valentino and Prada's fragrances when they were under Puig. But once they moved over, as soon as Valentino moved over to L'Oreal, they relaunched some of my favorite Valentino fragrances. I was like, this is bad. And then they did the Born in Roma series, awful fragrances. And they all have that kind of gross smelling amber woody base notes. And I'm a fan of ambroxan, don't get me wrong. This does not smell like ambroxan. It's a synthetic kind of syrupy, woody, molassesy kind of thing that's very, very common with a lot of other designers. And it just ends up smelling like a lot of other designer fragrances, which is, again, another disappointing fragrance to add to the list of disappointing fragrances from 2025. And I didn't want to make this a complaint video, unfortunately. But unfortunately, I did not get what I was expecting to get. I did not get something really great. The best thing about this fragrance is the gorgeous looking bottle. And I think that's what it'll be. It'll sit here, never be used. Not that I have not enough fragrances. I've got so many choices. But I'm not giving up on the designers yet. I won't give up. Maybe this is a bad year. Maybe next year is going to be a little better. Who knows? Because, every once in a while, there's something really great that launches that I really, really love, like Jean-Paul Gaultier's Le Male Elixir. I really love it, and people complain that it's too sweet or something. I shouldn't like it because it's too young. Hey, I mean, some fragrances are great. To me, it's my nose. I like some fragrances and the way they smell, and some don't. This one smells very generic, smells like every other L'Oreal owned brand's fragrances. It's just very, very mass, and maybe it'll be successful, maybe it'll be not, but for me, it's a complete dud and a disappointment. What do you think? Is it a dud and disappointment for you, or are you really all over this one and enjoying it? Do let me know, add a comment below. When do you think we will expect a parfum from this? I'm sure it'll come in a year, if not sooner, because now brands are launching flankers of fragrances right away. I mean, next we're gonna see a brand launching 2 concentrations at the same time, which used to happen way back. Like I remember earlier on, the brands used to launch not only an eau de parfum, a parfum, all kinds of bath things and soaps and shower gels and all that kind of stuff all together. But we're getting to a point where brands are launching flankers right away, like really fast. So next they're going to launch them all at the same time, and they'll launch multiple fragrances every few years. But it does take a lot of money, because I'm sure the focus groups they've done for this fragrance probably costs them a lot of money, because when I was going to focus groups and doing them while I was going to school, I used to get paid like $100 per hour session, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. So it costs a lot of money, and I'm sure they're not just doing one focus group, they're probably doing multiple, just to hear different opinions from a lot of variety of people. But yeah, it's a disappointment, sadly. But let me know your thoughts on Prada's Paradigme. Add a comment below. Thanks so much for watching today's video, guys. If you have any questions or comments, please do list below. Please like this video, and please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook. And don't forget to subscribe, as I said. Click the bell icon as well, so you'll be notified for future videos. And please give a thumbs up for this video for help with the algorithm. See you guys later. Bye-bye.